Imagine my surprise when I opened up my Voodoo account and I saw Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar just waiting there in the new features ready to be watched. It's hard to say that name without saying in the characters' voices, Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar. This latest effort from the brilliant comedic minds of Kristen Wiig and Mumolo just showed up out of nowhere with little promotion and little buzz around it, and I think that's exciting yet also scary for the movie business. I remember when I first saw the trailer to this movie, it was in a theater. This was supposed to be a theatrical release, a big broad comedy, and I was very, very excited because for those of you who don't know who Mumolo is, she's the Kristen Wiig's writing partner, and she wrote Bridesmaids. And she also had a cameo in Bridesmaids. She was the girl that was on the plane with Kristen Wiig when Kristen Wiig was getting drunk. And she was the really nervous one where she was like, I had a dream that the plane was gonna go down and you were in it. And that's Mumolo. So she's absolutely hysterical. She's a very prominent and successful writer in Hollywood. And this is their latest effort to bring to the big screen. So the fact that it showed up on digital release with absolutely no buzz around it kind of worried me, but it was also excited me because now I finally get to see this movie that I've been looking forward to for so long. Now, just for precaution, I'm going to say spoiler alert because I don't know how deep I'm going to dive into this movie, but I will probably give some bits away, some plot details. So if you don't want to hear anything about that, go watch the movie and then watch this, but I don't think I'm going to spoil too much because this isn't the type of movie that you could really spoil. This is a big slapstick broad comedy. This is Austin Powers. This is Dumb and Dumber. This is just ridiculousness incarnate. And comedy is a tough genre to sell. When it comes to selling movies, especially across the world, there's sure bets like action and horror. Everybody likes to see things blow up and everybody likes to get scared. But comedy is different. Comedy is regional. Jokes that work for a New York crowd might not work for a West Coast crowd, or jokes that land in the US won't necessarily land in the UK. Just look at the British Office versus the American Office. They're two wildly different shows, even though they have the same DNA. So senses of humor are hard to predict. That's why I give so much credit to Kristen Wiig and Mumolo for just going for it, for doing something. The characters of Barb and Star seem like Kristen Wiig and Mumolo practiced this and workshopped it in like an improv troupe or something like that. One of those like UCB or underlings, even though these characters were made for the screen for this movie, but it's felt that way because of how lived in they were and how well they played off of each other. It just seems like two characters that they crack each other up playing, and they were like, screw it, let's just make a movie about this. Because if you think about it, they got from Bridesmaids. Bridesmaids was a game changer. Bridesmaids changed everything when it came to broad comedies and also female-led comedies in Hollywood. And so it showed not only could women open up movies, not only could women open up raunchy slapstick comedies, but also that men were obsolete in their movies. They didn't need the love interest, even though they put that Irish cop in it, but nobody remembers that subplot. But they showed that everyone showed up for the girls and they completely nailed it. Bridesmaids is not only one of the funniest female-led comedies ever made, I will argue that it's one of the funniest comedies ever made, period. Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar does not happen without the success of Bridesmaids. So these people are heavyweights now, and I'm glad that they are letting loose, doing their thing and letting their freak flag fly. Because this movie is weird. It's funny, but it's weird. There were times watching this movie for the first time, me and my wife would look at each other like, and there were also times I was laughing so hard I couldn't catch my breath and I had to wipe tears from my face. So there's a wide range of what the F. You show up for Barb and Star. The chemistry between Kristen Wiig and Mumolo is just so palpable. You could feel it. It is absolutely hilarious when they're on screen together. They go down with the famous and most infamous comedic duos like Lloyd and Harry or Wayne and Garth or Eddie and Patsy, Laverne and Shirley or Lucy and Ricky. Their banter together goes a mile a minute. They are so in tune with each other's characters and they're hilarious. Anyone who's had friends who are in improv troupes or anyone, especially in New York City, who's gone to their friends' improv shows and they know these characters, the women from Wisconsin or Minnesota, like everybody has these kind of like house mom, type of characters that they have in their arsenal. But Mumolo and Kristen Wiig just brought it front and center in a daring and huge broad comedy. The only part of the movie I could have done without was this weird evil plan subplot where Kristen Wiig actually got to play the villain as well. So she plays two parts in this, done up all like Dr. Evil-like. And it was so weird, but it also led to one of the funniest moments in the movie for me, so it wasn't a complete loss. But I could have done without that. You really just want to stick around for Barb and Star and everything they're going through together. Although I do have to make a comparison. There was one part in the movie, spoiler alert, there was one part in the movie where she's, Kristen Wiig's Dr. Evil character is explaining to one of her henchmen that has to go off and do her bidding, that there's this microchip she was handing him, and she goes, "This is very important. It's very fragile. Do not lose this." Blah blah blah. And then she tosses it across the table as it bounces and skips towards him. That was so funny to me because that was the kind of comedy that they were making. That just ridiculousness. And it also had a different meaning to me later on after I watched it again. And to be honest, this movie does well with repeated viewings because the first time they talk so fast, you miss some funny and well-written jokes. But when she was explaining how important this chip was and then she just tossed it, that kind of reminded me of their pull in Hollywood, their cachet, like all the clout that they got from the success of Bridesmaids. They took all of that goodwill and like backing from everybody behind them, being like, "This is it. These are the guys," and they put it into this. They cashed in on Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. And you could tell that they're having an absolute blast. They're looking at each other, and I could tell in the back of their heads, they're like, "We are doing this. We have all the money we want to play with. We're putting special effects to make talking crabs and alligators and stuff, and Hollywood is letting us do this." Could you imagine? It's like this ridiculous characters of these two like mom type like craziness. They're looking at each other and be like, "We're cashing in," and they're having a blast with it. So I really give them credit for using all the clout that they gained from the success of Bridesmaids and stuff like that, and just having fun, because sometimes you just need to have fun. Not all comedy needs to be dissected and see how relevant they are to the times and this and that. This reminded me of the old, like I said before, Dumb and Dumbers and that Austin Powers, where they're just having a good time and laughing. And right now, this is kind of the time for this type of comedy. Not a lot of people are going to like this. Not a lot of people are going to get it. But the ones that just, throw caution to the wind and say, let's just have fun with these two characters. This is the time. I'm locked down here in New York City with barely any new movies coming out, and I'm driving myself crazy. So this was just the right time for this type of comedy. It is so off the wall and stupid, where some people might look at it and be like, this was a garbage waste of time. But for me, it was an absolute gem, and I couldn't believe I watched it 3 times since I rented it. It's one of those things where you watched it for the first time and you're like, what did I just watch? I don't think I'll ever watch that again. Then the second time you're like, well, that part was pretty funny. Well, that was pretty funny too, because that happens sometimes with comedies. Sometimes you need to watch it a couple times to really understand what they're going for and what they're trying to get at, and also really just get the jokes. They speak so fast sometimes. I'm 3rd, 4th time watching it because I had a 2-day window since I rented it. I was like, I'm gonna get my money's worth. I watched it a few times, and now I just want to spend time with Barb and Star. How weird is that? I just want to spend more time with them. They're so funny. I give all the credit to the creators, to Kristen, Wiig, and Annie Mumolo, because they're the people that run their careers could look at them and be like, this is a career destroyer. What are you guys doing? And they're like, we don't care. This is super fun, and we're gonna have fun while we can. So all in all, I had a very good time watching Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar, and I have to admit that it might not be a hit now, but this has cult classic written all over it. This seems like one of those movies 10 years down the line, like a MacGruber when that came out. And everyone was like, this is absolute garbage. But then 10 years later, people are like, I'm looking for the anniversary DVD because this shit was hysterical and nobody really got it at the time. Barb and Star has cult status written all over it. And if you want to get in on the joke early, watch it now. I recommend the rental. I recommend the buy even. It's one of those comedies that that don't come around very often and might not, again, judging by how the success of this movie is. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn that little bell thing on for notifications for new videos, which I'm trying, and I'm just waiting for all these new movies to come out so I could review them and talk about them. But I'm gonna go and watch Barb and Star one more time because there's a couple hours left on the rental, so might as well enjoy it, get my money's worth. Peace!